following is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee. It's time now to head up north for the MSP North Podcast, covering prep sports in Montgomery and Robertson counties with your host, Brady McAtamney and Blaine Keller. Gentlemen.
Welcome, everybody, to the MSP North Podcast. It's been a long week so far already. We've both had a pair of 10-inning games already this week, and it's only Wednesday. Blaine, how you doing?
I'm exhausted, but probably not exhausted as you. You know, that 5-hour Clarksville Rossview game that you had just a couple of days ago. I'm sure there's still some layover from that.
Oh man, it was a game for sure. But we're looking forward now to a great show. We've got a head coach, and actually for the first time on the MSP North Podcast, we have a player coming in. We have Joe Byrns softball senior Korey Harris joining us today as our first guest. Korey, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Really excited for our game today, actually.
Yeah, Korey, and you mentioned that game. Obviously, today's matchup rescheduled, but Trousdale County and Joe Byrns ending out the regular season district slate, number one on the line here, and actually an auto bid region spot on the line as well, because the number one seed will get the opportunity to move to that next round and play in the district championship game automatically. Korey, what have you guys kind of done to maybe prepare for this one? You know, I know that first meeting with Trousdale was a pretty close battle as well.
I think that mentally we're going to have to go in this strong. Like you said, the first game we kind of started off in a little rough patch. We definitely didn't play as well as our ability would let us, but I think we do have a lot of getting through it and pushing through it, so I think that we will be able to pull through.
Yeah, you guys have played some really good teams this season. Looking at your schedule, you've played teams like Summertown, Forest, and Springfield, a fellow Robertson County school. How have games against those schools helped you prepare, for games like you're going to have tonight?
I think definitely playing better competition will lead us to playing in the future, maybe even going to the state tournament is what we're looking forward to. So playing not so good teams, I think it just makes us play a little bit more down to their ability. So I think playing better teams will help us lead up to the better competition that we'll be having, especially in the regional and district tournaments that we'll have soon.
Yeah, and you mentioned, maybe the opportunity of getting to the state tournament. Joe Byrns last year reached the sectional round for the first time in its school history. But as we talked about last week, Korey, you're the only senior on this team that plays. It's a 3-person senior class, but because of injuries and other situations, you're the only one that plays, and you're playing alongside 4 freshmen and 4 sophomores. I know I kind of asked this question, and I'll phrase it a little differently this time, but are there any moments where either on the field or off the field, it feels like you're playing with 8 underclassmen? Like maybe you're just, realize, wow, these people are, all 2 or 3 years younger than I am.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think most of my life I've played with older people, so the toll definitely does take a little bit of impact on me, especially lately. So I think that I really just need to put all my trust into them. Even if they are a little bit younger, they still do have as much ability as I do.
Is there any pressure of being that lone senior on the field? Like, does it make you think, like, I really need to be the leader on the field, or I really need to be the one to set the example? Or do you think that that kind of comes naturally, or is that something that you don't even think about?
I definitely think lately these games have been taking a little bit of a toll on me. I do, especially being able to play with one of the other seniors that tore ACL meniscus. Really one of my closest friends, Grayson. I think the toll has definitely taken a toll on me, especially since he can't be playing. So I think I just really need to put all my trust and think about not really that I should be leading the team, but I mean, obviously I do need to set an example, but I think that I just need to be able to realize that I do not have to do everything on the team. Like everyone, it's a team sport. I don't have to focus on me hitting the ball every time. Like obviously there's going to be situations where I do need to be pulling through, but everyone's going to go for that. So
Well, you mentioned that you don't have to do everything. And when you look at the stat sheet for Joe Byrns, at least on the offensive side, the top 6 hitters for the team are either freshmen or sophomores. So, we talked a little bit earlier last week about some of the big contributors, but once again, who are some of these underclassmen that are really providing a big impact so far, either, at the plate or in the field?
In the field, we're basically unbeatable. I feel like anything that, when I'm pitching, anything in the outfield, I know for a fact is going to get caught. Bella and Faith and Alyssa really have held that spot down, especially as younger athletes. In the infield, most of the time, I have absolute 100% trust. If anything is hit right to someone, I have absolutely no doubt that they're not going to catch it. So I really do believe in them. Offensively, Julia Arms has helped us a lot. Talia and Callie have both stepped up to the plate a lot too, especially Bella too.
And, you mentioned the young, I mentioned and we mentioned the young team that you guys have, and you kind of balance that with maybe returning to the sectional round and getting an opportunity to play in the state tournament. Outside of that, are there any other goals that you've maybe set for yourself heading into the last week of the regular season and then the district tournament?
I really think that I just need to focus on having fun. Like you said, I'm a senior, so this is going to be my last year, especially playing with all these girls that I've played with for basically my whole entire life, just because I've lived here for so long. So I really just think kind of take the pressure off myself and not really focus on that I'm the only senior and upperclassman, but focus on all the last that I'm going to be having and all of that.
Last question we've got for you here, Korey. I wanted to talk a little bit about Vol State softball. You're obviously signed to play there and hoping to play both ways. As of right now, as a senior, you're batting .270 and you have a 1.73 average ERA in the circle. Vol State's number 13 in the junior college poll. Can you talk again about the excitement that you kind of have in joining that squad and what you're maybe hoping to accomplish in the 2 years that you get to play there?
Hopefully I go in there starting most of the time. I really want to focus on playing shortstop and, of course, pitching just a little bit, maybe not all the time, just because other people that practice it constantly and are always working at it probably will have a little bit more ability than I do. I think I definitely need to work on hitting a little bit more, and I need to focus on that. So hopefully it'll work out good for me.
Well, Korey, thank you so much for joining us today. Glad we could get you out of class for a little bit this afternoon. Good luck tonight in your game and the rest of the season.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, Brady, I didn't mean to correct you here, but it's the first high school athlete we've had, second athlete, period. Luke Brown earlier in the season joined us on the MSP North podcast. Hopefully not the same outcome after that one. It seemed like Austin Peay kind of took a dip after we brought Luke Brown on. So let's hope we're not a bad omen. Yeah,
there better not be a curse associated with us, but you're right. Yeah, first high school athlete. Good stuff from Korey Harris. We're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, another great interview with Rossview head coach Parker Holman. Stay tuned.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
We've all heard the saying that a little can go a long way. This is especially true during the Big Payback's 24-hour online giving event, helping support hundreds of local nonprofit organizations. From 6 p.m. on May 4th through 6 p.m. May 5th, a gift of as little as $10 could be boosted by cash prizes and help to make a big difference in the life-changing work of local nonprofits. Learn more at thebigpayback.org.
Nobody covers high school sports quite like Main Street Preps, bringing you hyper local coverage of the teams and athletes in your backyard. Wherever your Main Street is, well, we've got a podcast for you. the Sumner County Sports Podcast with Zach Womble? Or how about Casey's Take on Sports with Dixon Post and Cheatham County Exchange sports reporter Casey Patrick? Or how about this one right here, the MSP North Podcast, covering Montgomery and Robertson counties with Brady Mack and BK, a.k.a. Blaine Keller. And this week in Main Street Preps with Russell Vannozzi and Tyler Palmatier. It's all here from Main Street Preps. Find the latest prep sports news from your Main Street at mainstreetpreps.com, and find these podcasts dropping weekly on these Main Street media social platforms and wherever you get your podcast. Now, we take you back up north. Here's Brady and Blaine.
Welcome back to the MSP North Podcast. We are welcoming in Parker Holman, head coach of the Rossview Baseball Hawks, fresh off a district series sweep of the Clarksville High Wildcats. They'll play another one on Thursday, but as far as the ones that count for the district, they got them both. Parker, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Brady. How are you today, man?
We're doing good. You're probably still recovering a little bit, trying to catch up on your sleep schedule from that real long game on Monday night. Tell us about what it was like playing a game so soon after going 10 innings and playing a full 5 hours, almost until midnight.
Yeah. First, I want to thank you guys for just taking the time to have me on and to bring some light to our program. You guys do a fantastic job, and I'm excited about being on today. But as far as the game itself, the Monday night game, I've been a part of quite a few Rossview and Clarksville High games, and I can honestly say that was the only one that we've ever played that went almost 5 hours. And I was impressed, honestly, with both baseball programs and the fact that, you know, the kids showed up Tuesday and still played hard. I mean, you're looking at kids that, you know, they were getting off the field around 11 o'clock and having to go home and get up and go to school and still take care of their classroom responsibilities and everything that entailed. And, you know, it was just an impressive sight to see two programs where, you know, kids retired still absolutely get after it on a Tuesday night, less than, 10 hours after completion of game one.
Well, Coach, I was curious, two-parter here. One, you mentioned that you haven't had a Clarksville series, a rivalry game, go that long before. Have you had a game that you've coached go for 5 hours before? And when you have to play that game the next day, does focus ever become a factor at that point?
Well, that was the impressive thing for really both teams is, I think both teams, every pitch, the focus was there. Now I think everyone that watched game one would agree it was anything but clean baseball from either program. We both found ways to extend innings and put way too many guys on for free. And, with the weather conditions, it was tough on pitchers in game one, and that was definitely a factor with the sloppiness of the game. But, myself and Coach Hedlund have been watching the weather all day, and we had got a report that it was going to clear out, and we made a call to play. And I respected the call that he made, and lo and behold, we get a 30-minute shower to start off the game. So I was impressed with the kids. I know our kids, and even their kids, speaking on their behalf, just the fact that they were able to focus for that long of baseball. I mean, that was 17 innings of gut-wrenching baseball that all the kids involved did a good job of just focusing and battling for every pitch. Even with the 400-plus pitches in game one, then you add the pitches in game two. I thought it was incredible to watch high school kids be able to focus in for that longevity of the games and the series.
Yeah, you guys got a really good pitching performance in that 6-3 Game 2 win from Reed Leonard that came just one night after getting about almost 5 innings of great pitching from Hezekiah Scott. I know pitching hasn't been necessarily your guys' strength this season, but talk about what you guys saw from those two pitching performances, and if you think that those are two pitching performances that can maybe spark some of the other pitchers, maybe get things going a little bit.
Well, pitching hasn't been as nearly as bad as one might think. Shannon Rice has been tremendous for us all year. He did have some free passes that I think he'd like to have back, but throwing in that big a game in the weather, he's really went up against the gauntlet. He's thrown against the Good Pastures and the McCracken County, who in Kentucky, they'll probably be in the state tournament. It's probably in the state championship, if I was to guess. And Hezekiah Scott, he's thrown against Tarville and Houston and Independence. So the moment I wasn't worried about being too big for those guys. We played a tough schedule for a reason. The reason was we wanted to be prepared for May. Everybody wants to get caught up in records, but, honestly, what happens in March and April is just a testimony for what direction you're going in May. And we feel confident that our schedules prep not only our pitching staff, but our hitters and hopefully our fielders as well. In the fact that, I don't feel that we shied away from competition in our scheduling. And, we went and played the Memphis schools. We played every school that we'll see in our sectional if we're fortunate enough to get there. We played Carterville and Houston and Arlington. And, I'm just proud of the kids for responding and keeping their nose down and keep working.
Yeah, absolutely. You look at your lineup, and you guys have some guys who are already college bound and getting some college looks. Andrew Jordan, of course, committed to play at Austin Peay with a couple of other guys in the city. Brady Cooper, who has gotten looks from some Power 5 schools. Who are some other guys in that lineup on the team that you think could be playing some college ball next season?
Well, I think one of our leading voices and honestly one of our biggest backs in our lineup is Dylan Kazee. And, we lost him after the Independence game about 2 weeks ago. Him and Scotty Dean had a collision, and he had a severe bruise to his left quad. And when I mean severe, he couldn't walk for 2 or 3 days. And we had to battle through almost a 2-week span where not only we not have him in the lineup hitting, we didn't have him defensively in the outfield, and he's our number 3 on the mound, at least going into the year. And that kid went down and beat Bartlett on their home field in Memphis on a Thursday night game on the mound. So we had to do a lot of shuffling, and it put some pressure on some guys that we weren't expecting. And we had to make it through the dog days, so to speak, without him. But he's been a solid for us all year, and he's just such a solid at bat every time he comes to the plate, and he's just a hard out. I think he really adds depth and diversity to our lineup, and also takes some pressure off of other guys that hit before him and after.
Yeah, you mentioned he's a hard out. My latest impression of him was him hitting a ball probably a good 400 feet to dead center field at Clarksville High on Monday night. A ball that I've only seen Kyle McGrawn's hit out there from last season, and he's now at Vanderbilt. So that's pretty good company for a guy like Dylan to hit a ball out to that shed in center field at Clarksville.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest transformation to Dylan's game at the plate is, his junior year, he got off to a really hot start, but everything was full mindset. And just going into his senior year, he did a tremendous job in the offseason of just learning how to stay behind the baseball and not hit the outer half of it and yank everything. And, he's been rewarded with some success in doing so. He's a big, strong kid. He does a great job in the weight room for us. And he's learned that, hey, I can hit balls, just as hard to all parts of the park instead of just hitting on the outer half of the baseball and pulling everything. And I think that's transformed his game to another level that when he gets a shot to play college baseball, it's going to pay dividends for him, and he's going to have a good career moving on after high school, I believe.
Coach, just based off what Brady kind of wrote during his recap of that 5-hour first game, that win against Clarksville was the first one in at least, I believe, 2 years because of COVID. And then, obviously last year, Clarksville winning on a couple of walk-offs. How good was that for your guys? I mean, did that do anything morale-wise? You mentioned that you've played a really tough schedule in preparation for May, but whenever you talk about those games that happen inside of Montgomery County, I mean, how big was that for your team?
Oh, anytime that you can beat your crosstown rival in a game that holds the weight of, who's hosting the district tournament, and of course we still have to take care of business against West Creek for that to happen, but it pays dividends. And those kids they really got the short end of the stick in the fact that the seniors that we have now, their last win, like you said, against Parkland High was in 2019. But, we lost the 2020 season, in which was a season we had 15 seniors, and 7 of the 15 went on to play college baseball. And some of these seniors, such as Dylan and Colin Pedigo and other guys, they were going to be role players on that team. Guys that get at bats and learn. But the pressure's not necessarily going to be on their shoulders because, the Gage Bradleys and the Gabe Seiberts and Caleb Bonds and Jackson Isaacs and Bracken Rices and all those kids that we had on that 2020 team, they were going to carry the weight and the blunt of what we were going to have to do. And those guys were just going to get a chance to learn and really just learn how to play our brand of baseball. We talk about it all the time, just our blue-collar brand and not expecting to receive anything, but working hard to get everything. And that was just a big year for us in the fact that we lost that. And those kids didn't get to play a role. And then in 2021, they were forced in to, play the roles where you got to carry the weight. And they never got an opportunity to play. We always say they never got to be Robin. They were just forced into the Batman role. And that's hard to do for 15, 16, 17-year-old kids if after losing a year in which they could have got some experience in more of a relaxed setting.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got to see one of your guys make an insane catch for Tennessee just the other day to win the game. Rossview out there making plays all over the place. But so, like you said, season's not over. West Creek series, you still got to win those, and then you'll get to host that district, assuming you guys get those games against a pretty solid West Creek team. You still got that Thursday game against CHS coming up. That non-district game should be a fun one. But Parker, thank you so much for joining us today. Always a pleasure to talk to you, and best of luck the rest of the season. I'm sure I will see you again.
Thank you guys so much for having us on, and thank you for the coverage that you do for Montgomery County and all the other surrounding counties. You guys do a fabulous job, and we look forward to seeing you out at the park anytime we can.
Absolutely, man. It is our pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks, Coach. Well, Brady, we'll take one more break here. When we come back, we'll give you our player performance of the week, game of the week, and our one thing segment.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
We've all heard the saying that a little can go a long way. This is especially true during the Big Payback's 24-hour online giving event, helping support hundreds of local nonprofit organizations. From 6 p.m. on May 4th through 6 p.m. May 5th, a gift of as little as $10 could be boosted by cash prizes and help to make a big difference in the life-changing work of local nonprofits. Learn more at thebigpayback.org.
Tune in weekdays live at 2 o'clock for Main Street Sports Today. From preps to pros, Chris Moe and producer JP will have it for you each day at 2 o'clock on all of these Main Street media social platforms. And don't forget the podcast, wherever you get your podcast, the first half, the second half, and the special guest. Tune in on this Thursday. We'll have our Coach's Corner, and as always, this day in Braves history. From preps to pros, it's Main Street Sports Today with Chris Moe and JP. Now, back to the MSP North. We head north with Brady and Blaine. Gentlemen.
The MSP North Podcast. We're like Ohio State now. We got that kind of reputation around town. I mentioned a Rossview player making an insane catch for Tennessee baseball. That was Christian Scott. I wanted to say his name. I couldn't get it off the top of my head, but that was Christian Scott, former Rossview player. now for Tennessee. I'm sure Vols fans are enjoying watching him play right now. But Blaine, what do you say we get into our one thing segment for this week? I know we got some good stuff to talk about, so why don't you kick us off?
Absolutely. Revenge is a best dish served cold. I think I butchered that, but last night it was cold, and Springfield got some revenge on Clarksville in softball. 19 days after Emberly Nichols and Austin Pisani hammered a ball to center field to down Springfield 2-0 in the bottom of the 7th. Lauren Nicholson, a sophomore, hits a 2-run double in the 10th to beat them, and that ultimately set Springfield up to have control of its own fate when it comes to being the number 1 seed. Immediately following the game, athletic director Dustin Wilson held a coin toss on the circle to decide who the regular season district champ would be, barring that both teams win out, in the remainder of their games in the district, and Springfield was the winner. So not only getting revenge in that game, but getting revenge in being the top seed in District 13 4A, barring any losses.
How about that? Coming down to a coin toss. You don't see that too often. Talk about a climatic coin toss, man. But I wanted to look at a sport we haven't talked about too much on the MSP North podcast, just considering the timetable that we started. Spring football practice starting up this week in Montgomery County. I know schools like Montgomery Central are getting at it. Clarksville High, I know, is excited to get going. Just all these schools really looking forward to a strong season. There have been a lot of coaching changes in the county. So definitely going to be some new looks for some of the schools. And also this Saturday, West Creek is kind of holding a combine style event for some of the schools in the area. So that should be a lot of fun for those guys to get out there, run the 40, maybe pump some iron, take some leaps, vertical leaps, some good stuff. And speaking of football, former Clarksville High offensive lineman Jason Eaton, one of the biggest high schoolers I've seen in my entire life. He's about 6'7", 250 or something like that. He made me as a grown man feel like a child standing next to him. He entered the transfer portal after spending the past 2 seasons at Eastern Michigan. So that's some football news in there for you.
Lots of things happening this spring, and the transfer portal just keeps adding to it. I mean, it's like another coaching carousel almost. We'll stick a little bit in spring here and talk about Greenbrier. It doesn't matter what sport they're playing right now, they're red hot. 10 of 11 wins in baseball. They've got a hot streak in softball, just pitched a perfect game last week. And in soccer, they're 9-2. So, I mean, it just kind of feels at this point, if you want to watch a Greenbrier game, go to any of the 3 sports that they're playing, the 3 major sports, track and field. So, I mean, you've got a lot of different options. If you're a Greenbrier fan, it's a good time to be a fan of them right now.
Absolutely. And that's coming off a good basketball season for them as well. Looking at a regular season, I should say, that's already just about wrapped up. It's Clarksville Academy. The baseball team has locked up the number 2 seed in their upcoming tournament. All things considered, pretty good considering some of the teams that are in that district. Their first game is going to be against Mount Juliet Christian. If they win that game on Friday, they're going to see DCA on Saturday, a team that they have beaten this season and are actually ranked ahead of in the TBCA poll. So potentially some good stuff coming up for Clarksville Academy. They've been a very good team all year, played some really good teams, and their postseason is getting started this week.
That's a tough road for Clarksville Academy. I mean, the second round against DCA, considering if they get there, that's 2 SEC prospects that you're going up against. One from Tennessee, one from Vanderbilt. So a lot for CA to look up to there, especially, I mean, even if they get past that, you got to face the number 1 seed at that point. As for our performance of the week, let me stick with Greenbrier, stick with the Lady Cats. Shout out to Laura Walker. We highlighted her on the show earlier this year for a no-hitter. And now she has a perfect game under her belt this season. 7 innings and a 1-0 win against White House. Just absolutely dominant. I mean, maybe took 2 hours to complete the game. She's just really been on a tear this season after getting some experience last year when the Lady Cats made the state tournament. And if they want to make a return, she's going to be the key for that.
Absolutely. And another pitcher for my performance of the week here. I mentioned him when we were talking to Coach Parker Holman, is Hezekiah Scott. This kid only a sophomore, so he wasn't even he was in middle school the last time Clarksville took a loss to Rossview. So that that puts it in perspective a little bit. He was a 7th grader last time that happened. This guy is a two-sport athlete. He was he split time as starting quarterback this season for Rossview, but in that win against CHS, he pitched from the 6th inning on to the 10th inning. So he got the win. 4 2/3 innings, 3 hits, 10 strikeouts in that span. He was absolutely dealing, and a huge reason why Rossview was able to get that first win.
And they lock up, as we mentioned, the district #1 seed at that point. Let's go to our game of the week. Brady, what do you got?
Yeah, looking at the game of the week, Rossview versus Soccer. I accidentally typed Monday on there. They're actually playing today on Wednesday as we record this, so that's my bad. Sorry, JP. I made your graphic look wrong. But Rossview versus Clarksville Soccer, of course, it's rivalry week. It's you can't say much more than that. Rossview has been a great team all season. Clarksville always going to be a good squad. Rossview just coming off a game against Brentwood last week, so if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. They didn't beat them, but I mean, just being able to play a team like that is that's good experience for you. So I'm definitely looking forward to that game.
Absolutely, should be a fun one. And this weekend, I think if you're looking for some softball action, talked a lot about softball in this week, but it's a busy week for softball in Robertson County. The first annual Robertson County Classic held at Springfield. I've heard there's going to be a home run derby. Obviously, a lot of the Robertson County schools will be involved. It should be a fun weekend, just a lot of great action between some really strong programs. You've got at least 3 teams in Robertson County right now that are just absolutely shining in their respective districts. So if you got a free weekend, check it out.
You had a pick in the home run derby?
I think I got to go Sarah Nicholson. She's got 7 home runs on the season, batting .400. Trevecca Saini. I don't know of anybody else in this county that has that many home runs.
I was thinking probably one of the Nicholson sisters. Bria's money could get there, but she might be more focused on pitching over the weekend. Maybe they give you a chance to get out there and maybe hit some dingers.
Absolutely not. I can't hit anything. Well, that's why I wear glasses, man.
Yeah, that's a good point. You were a band kid in high school, right?
Yeah, I played the trombone. Right.
Yeah. If you were getting on the field, it was to play the national anthem or at halftime.
I did good at it too. So
I believe it.
Give me some props there.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it was worth it. You got to meet your future wife that way.
That's right.
So, hey, can't complain about that. If it means you can't hit a ball as an adult,
who's the real winner, right? I think it's me. So
exactly.
I got the ring.
We'll give you that. Yeah, exactly. That's one way to get a ring. Like all the teams will be looking forward to doing next month in May at Spring Fling. There you go, sports tie-in. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us on another week of the MSP North Podcast. It was a pleasure as always, and we look forward to talking to you next week. Have a good one.
This has been the MSP North Podcast with your hosts, Brady McAtamney and Blaine Keller. Follow Brady on Twitter at Brady_MSP and Blaine at sports_BK, and always at Main Street Preps and online at mainstreetpreps.com. The MSP North Podcast is a Main Street Media production.